All right, we are live finally. Sorry, guys, it took me a couple minutes to set up here. Welcome to this live stream. Let's give it a few moments for everyone to join and let some of the messages come through so I can start answering your questions. This is considered office hours, time that is devoted only to my students that are taking my courses or that are trying to learn or navigate in their career, trying to figure out what they need to do in the tech career. So ask away any questions you have. And I also want to give some perspective on where I see the industry headed in terms of what are going to be some really popular jobs and roles that are going to be high paying coming up this decade, and where you should be focusing some of your time. So we have a couple questions. Hamza Walid, okay, need tips for getting remote software engineer jobs. Is portfolio website required? Okay. So ideas to get noticed by a recruiter? Yeah, of course. You're going to need to have some portfolio, especially if it's a remote position. You need to have a portfolio that you can show beforehand. A quick technique that I'd like to share with you that has helped one of my family members really is you can launch a course on Udemy. Udemy is a wonderful platform. You can launch a course on Udemy and be an author of a course in a given subject matter. Number one, it will give you an opportunity to learn that really well, that particular subject matter. And number two, you have some social proof. You can literally link that course on your LinkedIn profile. It's not that hard to create a course. If you are investing a lot of time studying, just create a course on that subject or launch a couple of YouTube videos or something. Because everything's moving towards social. Every social proof is important. So that's a technique that actually worked for him. It was a Tableau developer position, and he created a course on Tableau, and he launched it on Udemy. It was a short course and it was for free, but the social proof is there now, right? Especially if it's a free course, you're going to get a lot of traffic. So it gets good SEO, and you could put that on your resume, as well as, of course, share projects that you've done, share your GitHub profile, or have a website of your own. It's really easy to create websites nowadays. Just use Wix.com or something. Just create a landing page for yourself and some of the projects that you've done and link that on your resume. That helps. All right. What is your viewpoint with these skills on freelancing field? Will it be easy for me to find work or contact? Or any tips for freelance? Okay. Yeah, so Rook, I haven't done too much freelancing. I normally just work with companies. There was a freelance role that I did with a big job posting website. I can't disclose the name because I was under an NDA, and I still am, presumably. So, but there was because of an Upwork profile. I had created an Upwork profile. I had linked some of my courses. I had linked some of my YouTube videos, and that's probably the best bet, right? Have a Facebook page, have a YouTube page, have a Udemy course, uh, and show that off on your profile, even for freelancing. So this will work for finding jobs, any kind of work. People nowadays are really interested in social proof. You have to have social proof, especially if we are headed towards a remote work culture, which is inevitable. You need to have some visuals of yourself, maybe talking heads, and you might not even need. They might not even need a thorough interview because what does an interview really show anyway? During a half an hour or 1 hour period, I doubt anyone is being themselves. And secondly, I talked about this in one of my other videos. Interviewing is just honestly achieves nothing. I've seen people that perform really well in interviews and they bombed the rest of their work when they joined the company. Not literally, but just they basically got fired in some of the situations because they were just really good interview takers, but they didn't have the passion, they didn't have the drive, they didn't have the charisma to or the the perseverance, or they would just quit on projects and so on. So they obviously got fired. But if you have something that you can show that you've been consistently working on, you have some social proof of your personality, of yourself on YouTube or a course like that, that really worked for my friend. He created a course, and his interview was like half an hour or something. They took his course, they liked the course, they understood how this person is, how he thinks, how he understands the tech, and it was just sort of an HR overall, a process of just filling out forms, and he was hired. And nowadays, it's really easy to get jobs. The market is really, really hot for jobs. It's not difficult. Is that getting in the way? I don't know if this wire is getting in the way, but anyway, let's see what other questions. By the way, guys, please like and subscribe. The likes really help the YouTube algorithm drive these videos, and I appreciate every single like that I get. It really means a lot to me. And please comment underneath the video as well, just to drive the YouTube algorithm. So Francis, okay, I'm a full stack developer. And by the way, I'm going to go through as many questions as I can. I have about 45 minutes or so. And if I miss your question, I'm sorry. I'll try to get to all of them, but there's a bunch of people asking questions. Okay, I'm a full stack developer. Would need to be more specialized in only one role. And when you ask the question, just please don't use slang or just use incomplete sentences, because I'm literally reading out your question without paraphrasing. Would we need to be more specialized in only one role? Data analysis, data engineering, or AI, ML? Couldn't we do coding and more? So, Francis, you could choose either of these fields. If you want to be full stack development, you need to know front end, back end, server side, middle tier, know how to build APIs and so on. And that would be the area that you'd focus on. And if it's data analysis, you'd focus on data analysis. I'm not really sure I get the point of the question. So let me know if you need more further clarification. Hey, MTS, there are so few junior or entry-level data engineering roles out there. What do you think about database administrator as a role to position myself for a data engineer post? Thank you. So database administrators is a more senior role than a database engineer or database developer. Database administrator has a lot more authority and requires a lot more security in a company and requires a lot more experience. A database engineer or database developer is someone that can build SQL queries, that can create reports for the company, that can build dashboards, that sort of thing. So that's more of a developer type role, a database developer. So I would say entry-level data engineer roles, they're out there, and you're saying that they're few, but you also need to understand that if it says 2 to 3 years of experience or 4 years of experience, that's also basically a junior level role. Okay, and so you don't want to take some of those job titles that seriously. It really all comes down to how the HR put that job posting. Apply to anything related to data. Apply to anything related to data, and you'll find that I've received messages from different recruiters about jobs. I don't work for anyone right now, but a lot of times it seems like they're not able to figure out what level of an engineer I am. Am I a senior? Am I middle or junior? So they just send everything. And as far as the recruiters are involved, they don't know any better. So they'll just put the posting. If it says senior, junior, they don't care. It all depends on the hiring manager. So you apply with the best resume you can get. And if you get hired, great. If you get, obviously the interview. But you'll see that there's many different, the spectrum of experience is very wide. So a senior level developer in this company might be a junior level in this one. So it's all, just apply everywhere, dude. Okay, Jeffrey, just started your Master SQL Data Science course a week ago, and I'm loving it. Thank you. What hurdles do you see in regard to developing in MS SQL, having learned PostgreSQL? So SQL is SQL. The language is 75. It's 50 years old. It's been around since the 70s, and there have been modifications and updates in the language, but for the most part, SQL is pretty much the same across all databases, all relational databases. MS SQL, Microsoft SQL Server, is a relational database. PostgreSQL is a relational database. There's just maybe a few syntax differences in the way you use some of the functions, but that's not the hard part. The hard part is really understanding, building a sound foundation of writing good queries, procedures, functions. If you want to be, in Postgres or, in PL SQL or T SQL, those are really the only differences. Otherwise, the underlying SQL is all the same. And a good PL SQL developer is going to be a good SQL developer. PL SQL is 90% SQL and 10% procedural, if that makes sense. All right. Hi, MTS. Thanks for putting this on. I'm working my way through the SQL course, but what should we do in terms of preparing for interviews and making ourselves marketable for our first job? So, Chris, I've talked about this in various videos on my channel. Check them out. There's some very important videos that I think every single person, whether you're employed or unemployed or looking for a job or even in your senior years of your career, these videos, I've spent a lot of time thinking through these and building them out. So check them out. There's a lot of advice there: how to boost your resume, how to market yourself, how you should position yourself when you're looking for these types of jobs, and what your mindset should be during that process. So calling off 420, hey Imtiaz, doing your Spring 5 course on Udemy at the moment. Great teaching style. Thank you. Thank you for taking the course. Cheers from Ukraine. I can't pronounce your name. I think that's in, I guess, Ukrainian. Currently learning Java back-end track with a personal mentor. Thank you for personal development tips. You helped me so much beat procrastination and get more inspiration. Awesome. All right. So Irfan is saying, is it possible to get a data analysis job with an associate degree? Yeah, you need some level of college and you need to know SQL. I've seen people that got SQL developer jobs with just high school education. They just had experience developing SQL. They worked for a small construction company who was managing their Access database or whatever. And he never went to college, and he's now a senior database developer in one of the big companies. You have an associate degree, so I often recommend people to get the bachelor's because you can't do that later in your life. It should be just done, get it out of the way, because it is a requirement from HR perspective for a lot of big companies. So just get that out of the way. If you're doing an associate degree, you're only 2 years from your bachelor's, just finish it. But yeah, you can get jobs with an associate degree. You're just going to be dealing with a more competitive environment, because if you are going against someone that has a bachelor's, they might pick the bachelor one versus you. So, all right, what else? Okay, Luke, thank you. You love my channel. Love you too, man. Hi there. Can you talk more about Python, the path to take in practicing work to become professional? Thanks a lot for your answer. Yeah. So Python is, you have really two tracks. One, you could go the full stack route where you learn Django, and Python you need to know really well. Django is the framework, similar to like Spring for Java. You have Django for creating services or websites or whatever. That's one track, and the other track is data science, machine learning, AI. And Python is involved in that area as well. But for that you need to learn other libraries like Pandas, NumPy, scikit-learn. On jobreadyprogrammer.com, we have a Python for data analytics and visualization course where we teach you all those different libraries that you need to know in Python. So that's how these are the two tracks in my opinion. Or you can get into, I think those are the only two jobs I would say focus on. So Yusuf is asking thoughts on the metaverse. So this video, I think I titled it something like jobs or the future of tech in 2022 and onward. And so metaverse is a huge, in my opinion, opportunity, an area to learn and get involved with if you are a software developer. If you're someone that knows coding, you're working at a company as a full-time software developer, on the weekends, you probably want to learn some, um, let me see if I can find that here 1 second. Just going to pull it up here. Let's go to Udemy. Um, Game development courses. This is an industry that will explode this decade. Not that you're going to be developing games, potentially you could be developing games, but the metaverse or a virtual reality is going to be a big industry this decade. And we see the shift from Facebook. When a world leader or a big company chooses to make a decision to shift their direction into something, then everybody else follows. And so Facebook has officially changed their name to Meta. And so they're going in that direction. And I bet you there's going to be plenty of other competitors that are going to go at that direction. No one is going to be trying to build an Instagram right now. No one's trying to build another WhatsApp. There's going to be a lot of companies that are going to be trying to build a metaverse or a decentralized world, virtual world, where there's going to be tokens and blockchain is huge. I talked about this right in my previous live stream. That's another industry you want to learn. So that's my thoughts on the metaverse. If you know software development and you're working at a company on the weekends, learn some Unreal Engine or something. Learn about how graphics work, Unity, game development. There's courses here, for example, on Udemy. Game development courses. These are some of the top courses. And this is basically the metaverse. We're looking at it right now. That what you'll learn from these courses is going to help you contribute to that industry. And this is going to be really hot industry. Guys, please keep the likes coming. It really helps. Please like the video, subscribe. So any plans on making a course on Kotlin? Not at this time. Kotlin is not as popular as Java. And so I want people to be focused on mostly Java. So Luke is asking, any thoughts on C# with Blazor versus Java with Spring? My ambition is to be a C# developer. So depending on where you are in the world, on the East Coast, not the East Coast, but in the eastern side of the world, there's a lot more C# opportunities, C# development, as well as Java, of course. These two things are huge everywhere. So, I mean, you pick and choose, really. You learn one thing really well, the other one is going to come very easily because C# and Java is very similar. And the way those frameworks are laid out are also very similar. So they're both popular. I would say Java and Spring is more popular because C# is a bit more Microsoft-ish, so to speak. And I just never was really, I never really enjoyed Windows applications. Okay, let me just read through this. So Besink, I think that's how you pronounce it. Thank you for everything. I'm very grateful. If we're stuck on a puzzle, after how long should we look at the solution? If we've tried everything we can think of. So chances are you haven't tried everything. It depends on how long you wait or you're missing some kind of knowledge. I would recommend to watch that section of the course maybe one more time before you finally give up. But I'd say if it's a puzzle that you're struggling with, give it a day or 2 days without looking at the solution. Because the longer you give your brain time to think, the better it's going to be. And even if you might not actively be thinking about that problem, your brain is working. Once you have put that struggle forward, you struggled with this problem for a couple of hours, and it's not clicking, and you shift focus on something else. You went ahead and played video games for a little while or read a book. Your brain has still some processing going on with regards to that problem, and you might solve it the next day. So give it a day or two. If it's a problem that's just something small, if it's like a small puzzle, like the beginner puzzles in some of the earlier videos, then sure, maybe take an hour or 2 hours. You want to kind of get rolling early in the course and try to get through the first couple of lectures. That's what I would recommend. All right, so Jay is asking, hi, Imtiaz. I'm about to graduate with my BS in software development, BS, bachelor's degree, this month. I have no prior IT experience coming from healthcare. Any advice on getting my first job as a software developer? So some of the things that I've talked about, some of the tactics, like marketing yourself, creating a good social proof of yourself online, on GitHub, on LinkedIn, maybe a website of your own. So Francis is saying, in your opinion, is it professional to be a developer plus data engineer or ML engineer / developer? Yeah, I'd say so. Of course, it's professional. And there's plenty of people that have those skills. I'm one of them, where I'm a data engineer and a software engineer. I worked in the data engineering field specifically for almost 3 years, just writing all kinds of SQL. They used to call me the SQL guru. I could basically send anyone to the moon with SQL. That's what I was told, according to them. But then after that, I worked on Java for almost a decade. So sure, you could be doing both. Our King is asking, hi, Imtiaz brother, can I have your Instagram ID? I think it's just my name, my full name. I got an interview offer with a technical engineer role with SQL. Even though my SQL is basic, it seems it's better to go for it for a starter role than junior dev. Thanks for your courses. Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you. Thank you for taking my course. I have 2 years gap in my developing career. Now, what is my chance to get a new job? Right now, I'm in Canada. So meaning you had a development career, you were developing or you were a software developer, and then you took 2 years off. That's totally fine. You could say that you were freelancing during that time, and hopefully you were coding. But gaps don't really look good to job recruiters, so you have to fill it with something. You could say you were building your own personal project. Not that you're lying. You hopefully were, right? You were maybe doing some level of coding to keep your skills fresh, right? So feel free to put that. You were working on your own project or something. But there's plenty of people that took 10 years off and forgot a lot of it and then came back and were software engineers. And let's say if you have if you have 4 years of software development experience, if you're coding every day for 4 years, you can take 10 years off, and when you get back into the field, you might be able to get your footing within 3 or 4, maybe 5 months, maybe 6 months. So you can learn very quickly if you have good amount of experience. I've seen that happen, by the way. All right, so let me continue reading some of these. There's a lot of questions, so if I skip yours, I'm sorry. I have to kind of scroll down here. So, Kayur Patel is saying, how can I get my developer job? I tried, but nothing happened. Please help me. So that's a vague question. You want to definitely figure out what were your weaknesses. Did you get interviews? Did you not get interviews? And did you get interviews and you failed those interviews? What were the reasons that you failed? And just do that analysis and figure out what areas you're lacking the skills in. But some of the tactics that I talked about, use those tactics. So Sayed is saying, hi, Imtiaz sir, need tips for switching career in CS. I belong to accounting background, but I am interested and willing to move to computer science. I have no knowledge of computer science. Please share some thoughts. So what I've said in many of my videos, I even created a video on this just a couple of days ago where I said, watch out for front end. And I basically said that the best way to start or get your foot in the door is through learning SQL first. SQL is a core component of anyone that is trying to get, that is trying to get involved with data. You have to know SQL. And data is every company's biggest asset. So you immediately could be contributing to the company in a capacity, even as a junior level database developer. You might be contributing to that company far better than a senior software engineer. So and the fact is, to learn SQL, it might take 3, maybe 4 months of hard work every single day if you put 2 to 3 hours. That's what I tout on jobreadyprogrammer.com as well. So within that time, you're only focusing on SQL, just one thing, just 1 or 2 different environments. You're learning an operating system, you're learning some SQL. Maybe you have to build a dashboard with a reporting tool or whatever, but mostly just SQL. Just learn that one environment, get your foot in the door, start applying for data analyst positions, and then on the weekends while you're working at a company, learn software development, learn Java, learn Python, right? That's how many people are doing it. Starting with JavaScript is more challenging because no one is going to hire a front-end developer only. If they only know front-end and they don't know server-side, they don't know middle tier, they don't know how authentication authorization works, they don't know the database, what are they going to do with a front-end developer? You're just going to be stuck in design world, right? And that's a replaceable, very, very replaceable skill. You're not important as much to the company as, for example, a database developer is, because the database developer needs to understand the domain, he needs to understand the data, he needs to understand how everything is structured, how security is managed, the database backend or whatever. A front-end person that is not involved with anything else is not going to be involved with the business. He probably just needs to read wireframes or create wireframes without getting involved with the business domain knowledge, whereas the database developer guy cannot ignore the business domain knowledge. He has to understand that really well to work with data. So start with data. I would say a lower barrier of entry and narrower breadth of knowledge that you need to get your foot in the door, and you become important in the company faster. And then you can work your way up, maybe take some coding courses on the side on the weekends while you're working at a company, and then you become a full stack software engineer if you want. Bojangle is saying, good afternoon, Imtiaz. I'm doing your data analytics course. I think it's the SQL for data science, right? Is that, or the Python one? I'm not sure. Let me know. I got almost 3 years of experience in IT, okay, but no degree. What are my chances of getting a job once completed? So I'm assuming you want to get into data analytics. There's plenty of jobs if you know SQL, or if you know a popular report building tool like Tableau or something. So you shouldn't have a problem because you have experience. You have some IT experience that you can add to your resume. It would be a problem if you didn't have any IT experience and you didn't have a degree, but you have that, so you should be able to find a job. Someone's asking, have you ever thought about launching some personal development / productivity efficiency course? I would definitely purchase it. By the way, spelling is Vitali. Okay, cool. That's a good idea. I've thought about it, but I haven't recorded one. Maybe if it gets enough demand. Not enough people ask me about it. So if more people ask, I will definitely create a course on that. But thank you for the suggestion. I'll consider it. So Irina is saying, hi, Imtiaz, I have experience in finance. A couple of months ago, I took a business analysis class. Now, really would love to become a business analyst, but don't have IT experience. Is it possible? All right, so you have experience in finance, you're saying, right? I have experience in finance. A couple of months ago, I took business analysis class. So I think you might want to just add some technicality to that if you want to be a business analyst by learning SQL. That's what I recommend. Start there, because see, this thing um, gives you so many options once you learn SQL. It gives you the data side. You can work as an Excel developer or something in Excel because you understand data. And then you can go into business analysis or requirement specification, or because you're involved with the data, you're involved with the industry domain or whatever it is that you're studying, whatever type of data that you're dealing with. It gives you that domain knowledge. It gives you that industry experience. Um, so, that's what I would recommend. Add some, since you don't have as much technicality, you have finance experience, you took a course on business analysis, you're just missing that technical piece. So learn SQL and learn a little bit of Linux and how to enter commands in Linux, just basic stuff. And then try applying. Add SQL and some technologies to your resume, maybe a report builder like a Tableau or something, or Alteryx. That wouldn't take that long to learn, believe it or not, to the extent that you need it for a business analysis role. Not to the extent that you need it for a development role. That would require more time, but for a business analyst role, you might just need to learn a little bit of each of those just to get a better general sense of tech. I'm doing your software developer course in Java. I've heard you say it takes about a year. At what point in the curriculum should I apply for jobs or just wait till the end? Well, whenever you're ready, but I'm just saying it takes about a year for someone to feel confident and comfortable applying for jobs and landing roles and doing good in the workplace. I've seen people do it in 6 months. I've seen people do it in 4 months, like a software engineer role, but that's rare. The majority end up taking about a year. And so what I recommend, obviously, is to get your foot in the door in data role, and then learn on the weekends, like I've touted 100 million times. But you're taking my Java course. Once you complete that course, you're going to need to also learn SQL and maybe Spring, or the Spring Framework course. So take those courses as well, and then apply. That might take you another couple months. So if it's been maybe a couple of months you took this Java course, take a couple months to finish the SQL and the Spring course, and I think that should get you ready. And then your confidence, it depends on your confidence after that point. All right. Just going through some of these. If I miss your question, I'm sorry. There's so many questions coming up. So Solflex is saying, you mentioned that you will make a blockchain course. Any updates on that? So I'm still learning blockchain. I'm actually working on a side project in blockchain, but I'm not going to create a course at least till maybe spring or summer of next year, because the space is changing so rapidly. And I don't want to create a course where it's incomplete or it's irrelevant, because the space is changing so fast. And I'm just trying to keep up. And when we get to a point where I'm realizing, okay, the landscape is now kind of becoming more solid and more permanent, then I might create a course on that. But it could take maybe another year for me to launch that course. So GS is asking, what can you do to maximize your chance of being hired as a web developer without a college degree? I'm learning your course for SQL, and I'm taking a Udemy course on web developing. So it's good that you're learning the back-end SQL side as well as the front-end web development side. So you're connecting there, and make sure you learn a little bit about the middle tier as well. But some of the techniques that I've talked about so far in this live stream should help you. Getting social proof, building a YouTube channel where you talk about some tech, maybe give a tutorial, or create a free Udemy course, right? Or write a Kindle book. You can, as long as you can make your resume stand out one way or another. It doesn't take that long to put together a Kindle book on Amazon. And then you all of a sudden have the title author next to your name on your resume. You'll blow out the competition, right? So you need to stand out. by thinking outside the box. You got to know how to market yourself, and that should be done by thinking outside the box. Um, so Joy is asking, hey Ahmad, after learning Java, if I want to go into web development with Java, can I take your Spring course? Is there any prerequisite for the Spring course? No, there's no real prerequisite except for you have to know Java for the Spring course. I do talk about HTML, CSS, JavaScript in there, but not to too much of a degree. So that's something that you might need to brush up on. We talk about some JavaScript, how to make a graph. There's like a progress graph and a pie chart, and we construct that using, I think, charts.3D or something like that. I don't know, I forgot the API that we used. But there's some JavaScript involved in that course, and there's also a templating library like TimeLeaf involved in that course, and of course HTML, CSS. There's some of that, but it's not really a front-end course. It's meant to be middle tier to back-end server side. That's where the meat of the course is. So JSP and servlets, yeah, I mean JSP and servlets, I don't really talk about them in my course. I think they're kind of irrelevant now. I wouldn't waste too much time studying that. Just maybe spend it, once you learn Java, maybe spend a day or two understanding how servlets work and how Spring security works with regards to servlets, and where JSP gets involved a little bit, but I wouldn't spend too much time with that. Okay, YTA is saying, I agree with you on SQL being the fastest route. When I look at Indeed, the SQL roles don't ask for much other than knowing SQL, and along with Azure and Microsoft DBA. Yeah, you're right. That's why I recommend SQL first. And a lot of these coding boot camps, they tout that a full stack developer, that being a full stack developer takes 3-4 months, but it's just not enough time, because they start you off with front end JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and that might take a month or so, and even that 1 month is not enough to learn all that. But still, you've learned basically nothing for that 1 month. You're just learning templating or like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Well, JavaScript is useful, of course, but you've wasted a lot of time in CSS and HTML, and that hasn't really improved your employability, right? Because it's not as important of a role in any company. It's a very replaceable role, and chances are you're going to need to know more than HTML and CSS and JavaScript. You're going to need to know more than that for a full stack role. So you basically just made a little bit of progress towards something that you could have made very good progress in a short period of time in a more effective way by learning SQL first, because that's more core to the company. That's closer to the heart of a company, the data. You get industry knowledge, domain knowledge, you're working with the data. All right, certification choices. What is hotter in greater demand, in your opinion? AWS, Azure, GCP, Databricks, Kubernetes, Docker. Well, Kubernetes is very important. So is Docker, AWS, Databricks. I guess so. I mean, it really depends on where you live. If you're in the U.S. or Canada, versus if you're in the Middle East or in India or Pakistan, or depending on where you live. Look at the jobs in that country, what's available, and then make a decision as to the one that has the highest number of jobs. That's what you want to get certified in, if it's interesting to you. So Corey's saying, can someone get into software development without going to school for a degree? Yeah, we have examples of those. It's possible. Bojangle is sending a super chat. Thank you. Good afternoon, Imtiaz. I'm doing your data analytics course. I got almost 3 years of IT experience, but no degree. What are my chances of getting... Oh, okay, I've already answered this question. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you for the super chat. Um, so technical Mateen is asking, sir, I want to become an advanced JavaScript developer. Please give me tips. So if that's what you want to focus on completely, then I would say just build in React JS, learn Vue.js, um, Angular JS, because you need to know those frameworks if you really want to be an advanced JavaScript developer, as well as the core JavaScript language. Learn about the functional components of that language. Learn about the object-oriented components of that language. How could it be functional? How could it be or object-oriented? Learn about, of course, the various APIs that you'd need to call, REST services, and so on. Node.js, how would you make Node.js work with, for example, MongoDB or whatever? Because that's the JavaScript. That's all front end. That's more React.js, right? So you need to learn a lot of things to be an advanced JavaScript developer, and that's not really. You can't just learn JavaScript because that's not enough. You need to learn a lot of other surrounding components around it, the frameworks, the auxiliary frameworks, and tools. You got to know that as well. Otherwise, you won't be considered advanced. So I don't know. That's just. It depends on how much work you put towards all of those front end areas. All right, I'm just going through a couple of these. So Alberto is saying, I cannot get hired as a junior business analyst. I got an MBA in business intelligence and analytics. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Any tips for guidance? So it depends on which area of the hiring process that you're having trouble. Could you share some more information? Is it during the interview phase? Are you failing interviews, or you're not getting interviews? Um, some of the, I have various videos on this channel that talk about how to make your resume stand out. I spoke about how to improve your LinkedIn profile. Um, so maybe use some of those suggestions, but let me know if what area of the hiring process you're having trouble with. So Morshed is asking, where do you see Java in the next 10 to 20 years? I think it's going to remain very popular. Um, Python is going to be really important as well. Um, See, the idea of new languages coming about and new frameworks coming about we're now in the world of new frameworks, not new languages. That era has gone, right? The 90s and the 2000s brought in a lot of new languages, um, and a lot of them failed over the years. Like, for example, Ruby is not as popular as it once was. Groovy, and there's Kotlin is one of them from the Java space. Golang is, I guess, still popular, but not as popular as Java or Python. These two are the oldest programming languages, except for maybe C++ and C, that have lasted this long, and that will continue to last long because now it's all about new frameworks or new industries. Like this Unity development maybe uses C++, C sharp. You can do that, and I'm sure Java has its a way of doing it as well. I'm not sure. I don't know anything about Unity game development. I don't think Java has it yet. But if we go towards this virtual reality space or this metaverse that we're heading into, you should be focusing on learning that rather than trying to learn a new language. So Java is going to be here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Python's not going anywhere. C sharp, C++, they're not going anywhere because they have now really made their way in every single software you can think of. And some of these softwares are going to be upgraded. They're not going to be replaced or removed and destroyed. Um, the layer one is built. Now we're working on layer two and innovation happening on the layer two, and that all has to do with new innovations that are outside of language development. All right, so some of these questions are really general. So if I miss yours, chances are it was more of a statement or it was just a general question that I don't know how I should answer. So excuse me, or you might want to re-ask it if I skip it. I have so many questions coming in, so I'm definitely going to miss some. Um, so how to get better in algorithms and data structures? I have courses on that. I have courses on Udemy. I have courses on my website. There is a data structures and algorithms course called Practical Data Structures Algorithms in Java. And then I also have Eliminate Code Fear using puzzles. And that is also a much more granular course where you're working on solving granular problems. And doing more of those is going to get you in really good shape to solve data structures, algorithms type problems. Guys, please like the video. It really helps. We have close to 90 of you here, but we only got 56 likes. So likes really help. Please, it means a lot to me. Thank you for the YouTube algorithm. All right. Or what else? Hello, everyone. That said hello to me, and I wasn't able to respond to you. That hello is for you guys, because some comments are just saying hello. So Yeppy is saying, if I pronounced that correctly, can you explain what SQL is as if I was a kid? Sorry, I'm having a hard time where to start and even know what to do, but I'm motivated to start. So SQL is basically a language used to interact with a place where we keep data. It's basically a language that is for questions. You're asking a system where data is stored, you're asking it questions, and you are modifying, asking questions is a big piece because you're retrieving information from that data. But you also have to put data into that system too. You need a place to index it in a way that is accessible easily. And it needs, you basically need to organize, put some organization or structure behind information. And that's what a database is. You save that information in a structured way. And then to be able to access that information or change it, you need a language like SQL, which is a data interaction language. Hopefully I was able to explain that as in a more simpler fashion. Yeppy, if that's how you pronounce your name. Okay. So Shadi is asking, would you say, and I get questions like this all the time, would you say that 31 years old is too late to start a career in software? What about finding work at 40 in the IT field? So I've talked about this. I know of people that were Uber drivers or that had no experience whatsoever in tech that made their way into tech that were relatively older in their 40s. So there is, I'm sure, some level of age discrimination, but there's a lot of jobs out there. The world is all digital. It's all virtual now, right? So there's going to be more jobs in this space, and everyone will have some room in there. You just have to learn and work hard. So David is saying, first, sorry for my English. Okay, that's fine. I am 51 and want to begin to code. Must change my job. I want to begin with C#. That I think AR and VR, okay, is the future. What do you say? Is it too late? It depends on how important landing a job in this field is for you. That's what I would say. If it's very important for you to land a job in this field because you enjoy it, then it's not too late. But if you feel like you need a job and you're in your 50s and you want to save for retirement and you've let's say you lost your job or something in a different industry, then I would say maybe pivot on something else than try to learn C sharp and VR, virtual reality. That's a much bigger endeavor, gaming and so on. If that's where you're going to start, I recommend most of my students to start with SQL first, and maybe that's something you want to do. Start there first. Okay, a QA job and tester jobs course. So Malik is asking for QA tester jobs. What courses would you recommend? So QA tester, hopefully, if you want to get into automation, that's what you should be focusing on. No one, I would say, manual testing is dead. Uh, is really not going to be fruitful for your career, for the longevity of your career. So you definitely want to go towards automation. So for that, you got to learn Java, you got to learn Selenium. There are Selenium libraries for, I think, Python as well as Ruby. So just pick a language, learn Selenium really well. I'd say I recommend Java always. I mean, you're saying big biceps. Oh, thank you. I do work out every now and then. Um, what kind of jobs are in demand in the New York City area? There's plenty of jobs. Just search on LinkedIn. So is it okay to graduate in computer science with a second class lower? Joseph is asking. I don't understand the question. What do you mean by with a second class lower? Meaning you didn't get that good of a score? Depending on where you know, what school you went to, and maybe it goes by ranking or whatever. I'm not sure what second class lower is. But, you know, hey, as long as you have a degree. All right. So a couple people asking about, do I lift weights? Yes, I do. Routinely lift weights. So, pessimistic cigarette. First of all, I'd like to recommend, please change your name. If you open your YouTube profile every day and that's what you see, I don't know how good that is for your long-term mindset. I like to look at positive things. So just a suggestion, not judging you in any way. This might not even be your profile, but the question is C++ good for first language? And do you think the C family has a future? I think C++ is great to learn, but I wouldn't recommend as your first language. I wouldn't recommend that. I would say start with Java. It is lower level than, for example, Python, but it teaches you object orientation. You learn about types, you learn about type safety, you learn about structuring your code, you learn about interfaces, you learn about designing your classes and objects properly. Whereas you can learn all that too with C++, but then you have to worry about memory pointers and so on. And there could be a lot of areas where you run the code and it just crashes, and that'll be annoying. So it's better to learn Java first than to learn C++ first. But as far as the C family having a future, they're always going to have a future. C++ is always going to be here. Java, Python, for as long as we have development, these languages will be here. All right. So CS Projects is asking, I recently got hired as full stack developer after teaching myself coding for 2 years. Congratulations. Some of the best coders I've come across do not have computer science degrees. They learned it themselves, so kudos to you. Very good job. My company wants me to focus on Laravel and React.js. Laravel and React.js. Should I focus on Java on the side? Well, it depends on what you want to do. If you have experience working at a company, coding for 2 years, uh, maybe it's worth learning React.js. Maybe you want to do that, or learn Vue.js or whatever, and get involved with that because you already have the backend or server side potentially already finished. You've recently got hired as a full stack developer after teaching myself coding for 2 years. Hey, first of all, you got a job, so congrats after learning coding. If this job is teaching you something or forcing you to learn something, that's okay. Learn that, get really good at it, because you're already hired. You will find plenty of opportunities to grow within that company in other areas. You can learn Java on the side as well. So stick to that. I wouldn't change anything there. So Boris is asking, what do you think about concentration in packages like Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics? I stay away from product. I stay away from proprietary or company products unless it's really, really popular. Like Salesforce is very popular. I don't know much about Microsoft Dynamics, by the way. So if you're adding Microsoft Dynamics and Salesforce in a sentence and you have somebody read that sentence, chances are the person that's reading that sentence is gonna find Salesforce familiar and Microsoft Dynamics as not as familiar. I don't know. That's just my guess really. But that shows you what you should be concentrating on. But I typically stay away from companies' proprietary products like that. I like to go totally just open source. So Samed is asking, can you please talk about the short path to entering software engineering journey? I talked about this in many of my rewatching your other video, which talked on it, but I want you to please elaborate. So I've talked about this in many videos, and I recommend to start with SQL first. And I've said this a couple of times in this video as well, so go back if you missed that part. So Boki is saying, I'm in college and I find it hard to find time for learning to code, but I try to spend 1 hour every day. Is that enough? Well, you're in college, so you might have other courses that you have to take that might not be related to Java or coding. But if you're taking out 1 hour a day coding, that's good. That's really good. You're still in college. I started with Java, then I went. Then I wanted to move on to Kotlin and learn Android development. Whatever you choose right now, it doesn't really matter as much. But get that coding experience in. Whether you code in Kotlin or Java, you're in college right now. Get those hours of coding. 1 hour a day is good, but I would recommend maybe 2 to 3 hours if you could take time away from some of these other classes. I don't know what you're majoring in, but if you're coding, hopefully you're taking a computer science degree. If you're not, then just take some programming courses. So Brian is saying, I'm 31 and just got my first IT job. Awesome. Jay Veller is saying, I'm starting at 54. Great to hear. That's awesome. So Mohammed is saying, asking, which with the metaverse coming, which type of jobs and skills will be on the rise? So I spoke about this. It's going to be virtual reality. You might want to learn Unity game development, 2D, 3D, Unreal Engine, stuff like that, if you want to get into that space. That's going to be huge. So Yasser is asking, what does it take to be a tech lead? It really just requires experience. Eventually, everyone gets to be a tech lead if you've been coding a while. Before I left my previous company, I was offered a position as a VP, and I declined that position because I had left. I wanted to leave. I wanted to work on my own projects and work on my own business. Um, that was higher than a tech lead. But if you stay in any software development role, eventually, after you cross 30, or let's say you started when you were 20 and you coded for 10 years, you'll be a tech lead. You can find jobs for tech lead. It's not that hard. All right, so Samit is asking again, when learning SQL and Tableau, should I pursue further to learning BI despite my aim still being software engineer? You don't need to learn business intelligence. If your eventual goal is software engineer, get really good at SQL, get your foot in the door and work in that company and learn other stuff on the side. Learn software development on the side. So Tushar is asking, I started great as a software developer in my career, but now after 10 years, I feel like I have reached a saturation point. The development part is left behind a few years back and in a managerial role, please guide. So it really depends on what you want to do. Um, you say you feel like you've reached a saturation point. Perhaps you need to redefine yourself, you need to reinvent yourself and look for a different job or company, um, or perhaps learn something new. Because you're saying I started great as a software developer in my career, but now after 10 years, maybe you haven't learned enough recently and you're starting to slow down, or you don't want to, you don't have the desire to do that. So you might want to learn new things and try a different challenge if you're hitting a plateau. So Stephen is saying, I graduated with a CS degree, but have no main language. Okay. I started learning front end because I find it more fun than back end. That's true. Front end is more fun. But I think back end should be more valuable. Should I change to back end slash data? Well, it depends. If you've already graduated and you're trying to look for a job, depends on how far you are in learning front end. If you've gotten to a point where you're hireable and you're ready to work, then you should probably just apply and get your foot in the door first and then finish the rest of the things that you need to learn. But if you're not finding any luck with front end, then yeah, go to databases, learn SQL, get your foot in the door, and then start learning the rest of the stuff. All right, so H is saying, I'm going to graduate soon from a no-name college. Every college is a no-name college. Let me tell you one thing. After 3 to 4 years of experience, nobody gives a rat about which college you graduated from. It does not matter. When you're working at a company, if you're someone that kicks butt and you work hard, it doesn't matter where you graduated from. So it's okay. No name college, more power to you. I don't have an internship and I'm worried, okay? But how hard do you think it'll be for me to find a job? Any tips? Thank you. So all the tips that I've discussed so far, how to market yourself, your profile online, having a social profile online, having a website, having a YouTube channel, creating a course, creating some tutorials online, creating a GitHub profile where you upload a couple of projects that you worked on. All of those things are going to help. And I've talked about how to go into freelancing, or at least show that you have a freelancing profile and you're coding on the side, and market yourself in some capacity like that if you don't have any experience otherwise. All right, so there were a lot of questions, everyone, and we're running out of time. But I really want to thank each and every single one of you for joining me here this evening. I'm in the East Coast, so 7 p.m. where I am, and I'm about to sign out. But please, guys, thank you for your time. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends or anyone that you think this would help. And I'll see you in another video. Thank you so much.